Woodstock was an historic music festival held in August in 1969. It became a symbol of the counterculture movement and a defining moment in the 1960s. The festival drew an unexpected crowd of around 300,000 people and featured iconic performances from the legendary artists of the day. Despite logistical challenges, including heavy rain that turned the grounds into mud, Woodstock maintained a peaceful and communal atmosphere, embodying the spirit of peace, love and unity. The event is remembered for its cultural impact, musical significance and as a representation of the ideals of the 1960s counterculture. It had many highlights, representing career peaks for many of the performers, meaning it is difficult to rank any of them. Nevertheless, that is what we have tried to do in this video, where we look at the top 5 greatest moments of Woodstock. Michael Lang, the organiser of the festival, called this the best performance of the entire event. Coming at 3:30 in the morning, the group played a magnetic, funky, soulful, rocking set, which was undoubtedly a peak of the festival. This was Sly and the Family Stone at their best. They fired all guns at once, with the electricity they created on stage being enough to have powered a city. Their instrumentation, vocal back and forth, and interaction with the crowd served as a textbook example of how to perform live. Though this set wasn't as political as others, such as Country Joe and the Fish or Jimi Hendrix, it nevertheless represented a key element to the festival and the hippie movement in general. Living in the moment, side by side with your fellow humans, enjoying a scintillating musical performance from some of the greats. Covering the Beatles is no mean feat, especially during their heyday in the swinging 60s. However, that is exactly what a relatively unknown Joe Cocker did at Woodstock. Despite their lowly status at the time, the Sheffield-born bluesman showed no signs of this and performed with a soulful swagger that catapulted him and his band to new heights. After a well-received, emotional set, the group closed with a cover of the Beatles' A Little Help From My Friend, turning the jangly pop ditty into an anthemic soul masterpiece, with Paul McCartney later saying, "Joe totally turned this song into a soul anthem, and I was forever grateful to him for doing that." The lyrics and performance captured the positive, idealistic spirit of the festival, and for that reason it sits on our list. One of the fascinating elements of Woodstock was its scheduling, or apparent lack of. Unlike modern festivals where they are conducted like military operations, Woodstock simply wasn't like that. Overwhelmed with the unexpected enormity of the festival, the bad weather and other logistical issues, performances would go on throughout the whole 3 days, whether it was in the early hours of the morning or the dead of night. This is the experience that Jefferson Airplane had when they took to the stage in front of a sleepy crowd at 8 AM. Undeterred, however, the group reinvigorated the crowd like the sunrise with an explosive performance, including hits like Somebody to Love, White Rabbit, Saturday Afternoon and Volunteers. The group later admitted they had been up for 24 hours straight by the time they performed, making the moment even more incredible. Can you imagine modern pop acts doing this today? Admittedly, I can't. At number 2 is the famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, Fuck Cheer by Country Joe McDonald, which saw the musician conduct a back and forth with the 300,000 strong audience spelling out the word fuck. creating arguably one of the most iconic moments of the festival. Often, as is the case with great moments, this was largely unplanned, as Country Joe was not due to perform until much later. However, due to scheduling issues, he was asked at the last minute to perform an impromptu acoustic set to keep the crowd entertained whilst waiting for the next band to arrive. Playing a string of his most notable songs, Country Joe would later remark the crowd weren't paying him much attention. Nevertheless, this would all change when the singer roared,
"Give me an F! Give me a U! Give me a C! Give me a K! What's that spell? What's that spell? What's that spell? What's that spell? What's that spell?"
As you can see, this woke the crowd up and his performance ended with a standing ovation. Though saying fuck has become normalised in today's world, at the time it was still a huge taboo, and the fact we have become so desensitised to it is perhaps due to this legendary moment. This one moment encapsulated, more than any other, the spirit of anti-establishment rebellion during the 1960s, and for that reason alone, it sits on our list. As the headline performer and insisting he would close the festival, when Jimi Hendrix took to the stage, the 300,000 strong crowd, soaked and exhausted, had more than halved in size. Undeterred, however, Hendrix would play an explosive set, cementing himself as arguably the greatest musician in America. Along with his usual brilliant numbers, it was his rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner that is most remembered, and for good reason. Hendrix turned the musical piece from an all-American traditional standard to a melancholic ode to the fallen and the tragedy of war, giving voice to the pain and hope that mingled in the air, providing a snapshot of a nation torn apart but united by a collective desire for change. The guitarist, being a former member of the 101st Airborne Division in the American Paratroopers, gives extra poignancy to this sobering moment. For his technical mastery, originality, and the emotion behind this musical statement, we have no choice but to put this at number one. A truly iconic moment. Woodstock occurred in the dying breaths of the 1960s, and in many ways the counterculture movement itself. Although its message spread across the world, continuing to do so to this day, it's never been quite the same. With this in mind, Woodstock was the perfect send-off for a truly magical era. So there's our list. Do you agree with it, or would you put other moments on it instead? Thank you for joining us at Canned History. If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more, then like, comment and subscribe.